Berlin's abrupt plunge into darkness has turned a local power outage into a high-stakes national security story, forcing Germany to confront how vulnerable its critical infrastructure is in an era of sabotage, cyber threats, and geopolitical rivalry. As parts of the capital faced freezing homes, dark streets, and emergency shelters, images of an electrical grid literally in flames stoked fears that Germany may be facing a new front in hybrid warfare, where power cables and substations become targets like military bases. More than 35,000 households and around 2,000 businesses in southwest Berlin were cut off from electricity in what investigators describe as a deliberate act of sabotage, leaving thousands of people without light, heating, or basic services overnight. On January 3rd, an arson attack hit a cable bridge connected to the Lichterfelde power station, with FAZ reporting that flames raced across high-voltage lines suspended over the Teltow Canal, instantly severing a vital artery in Berlin's power network. The fire destroyed 5 high-voltage and 10 medium-voltage cables in one strike, plunging 4 city districts into darkness and forcing grid operators into a race against time to reroute power and protect the rest of the system from cascading failures. The hardest-hit areas were the leafy southwest neighborhoods of Nikolassee, Zellendorf, Wannsee, and Lichterfelde, where apartment blocks, small shops, and lakeside villas alike suddenly found themselves without electricity in sub-zero temperatures. Residents not only lost heating and hot water but also internet and mobile connectivity in some pockets, prompting authorities to warn of possible communication disruptions and to open warm-up points where people could charge phones and escape the cold. A far-left extremist group calling itself Vulkangruppe, the Volcano Group, quickly claimed responsibility online, saying it had deliberately sabotaged infrastructure tied to Berlin's fossil fuel energy system. In its statement, the group described the arson as a protest against what it called energy greed and the power of big tech companies, framing the blackout as a symbolic strike against capitalism rather than an attempt to harm residents directly. German law enforcement has deemed the claim of responsibility plausible and opened a formal terrorism and extremism probe, examining links between this attack and earlier acts of sabotage attributed to the same network. Berlin's Mayor Kai Wegner condemned the incident as an unacceptable attack on human lives, stressing that knocking out power in winter endangers vulnerable residents and vowing that those behind the fire will be hunted down and prosecuted. By January 4th, repair crews had managed to restore electricity to roughly 10,000 households and about 300 businesses, rerouting power around the damaged bridge while engineers worked around the clock to splice in new cable sections. Grid operator Stromnetz Berlin says full restoration should be completed by around January 8th. And in the meantime, mobile generators and temporary infrastructure are being deployed to keep essential services running in the affected districts. The Berlin attack comes on the heels of a series of suspected sabotage operations in Germany that security services have linked to Russian interests, reinforcing fears that Moscow is testing and probing Western infrastructure resilience. In October 2025, a Munich court convicted 3 men of spying for Russia and planning sabotage attacks, ruling that they had gathered intelligence on German and US targets while exploring ways to disrupt support for Ukraine. One dual German-Russian national received a 6-year prison sentence for preparing attacks against infrastructure that helped channel military and logistical aid to Ukraine, underlining how supply lines have become prime targets in the wider confrontation with Moscow. In June 2025, a suspected arson assault at a Bunzweiling facility in Erfurt destroyed at least 6 German military trucks, with video of the blaze first surfacing on pro-Russian Telegram channels boasting of a successful strike on NATO assets. Investigators later said the Erfurt incident was likely orchestrated or facilitated by individuals with ties to Russian intelligence, describing it as part of a pattern of covert operations aimed at undermining Germany's ability to arm and support Ukraine. Against that backdrop, German security agencies are now examining whether the Berlin blackout is a purely domestic far-left action or whether it fits into a broader Russian hybrid war strategy that uses extremists and sabotage to intimidate, divide, and distract Europe from a war in Ukraine.